people are very passionate about what they are protesting about, and any attempts to challenge that, things can get out of hand, and that's something that definitely has to be thought about before, decisions are made. Now, I will say this: the employers have not contacted us, meaning the Pacific Maritime Association, has not contacted us to try to challenge us in this situation as of yet. Okay, but I have gotten some reports that ZIM Lines has not only threatened but said that they were going to pull out of here, because we won't cross through this picket line, and that to me is racist. Okay, it is to try to pressure workers to challenge protesters is just insane, asinine. And to hurl a threat because we won't do it is just, to me, racist. I'm just going to say it, tell it like it is. It's racist, and we have no room for that. Every time we see these examples of racism and bigotry, they have to be challenged, and people have to start telling the truth about what's going on. Okay.
How did you hear about the ZIM threats? Was that by email or a letter? Or?
Well, we've been seeing it on the internet for a month now. The ship is finally here. It's been on the internet for a month that the ship was coming on certain days and it didn't show up, or on this day or that day, and we've just been sitting back and waiting for it to get here, and then once it got here, we dispatched our jobs and we came out here to go to work.
What did you tell your workers to do this morning?
I told them to stand by until we get further information, and we haven't gotten any information. I haven't spoken to representatives from TRAPAC. I haven't spoken to the employers about anything. So until I do that, I don't have really much information. I don't know the employer's position. I know our position is that we're not going to fight protesters. Our members are not going to fight any protesters. That's out of the question.
Thank you. I think that's our only question. Do you expect this to be fought shift by shift? Are you going to be out here for each beginning of shift for the next few days?
I probably will. I'm not anticipating anything because I literally don't know. I don't know how long the protesters plan to stay here. It's just, I hate to sound like the ILWU doesn't have a dog in the fight, but literally, we don't. We have a dog in the fight socially, okay, as far as what our position is on certain things. But as far as going to work, we're not going to fight our way through any protesters. That's just not what we do. We're not a police force. Yeah, we are a labor union. And to put pressure on us like that is asinine and is bordering on racism.
Yeah. What do you think about the global, really like the international dock workers who have also been mobilizing kind of in solidarity with what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. I respect them. Yeah, I respect representatives from the international dock workers and the IDC. We're closely connected with them, and I respect everything they're doing. I don't have anything negative to say about anybody in labor or any organization that is standing with the protesters and the Palestinian people. I have nothing negative to say about any of them. It is what it is, and it's been going on for decades and decades, and for everybody to be acting like they're shocked, okay, that people are protesting against what they consider murder and massacre is asinine. That's and to try to blame individual groups and put pressure on people instead of addressing the issue as it is asinine. And it's time people start pointing that out. It's time that the public starts recognizing that nothing gets solved nothing gets solved in our society because of the way we operate, you know, and because of how we let certain people dictate, you know, what happens. And when we have to start voicing what is really happening. You know, I call this the times of living in the lie. You know, there's so much lying and deceit and racism and all of this stuff going on in the world that, you know, literally the people who are causing all of this to happen are putting the burden on the victims of it to solve it. And it's never going to get solved that way.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask earlier, but are your folks going to get paid today?
We don't know. That's up in the air also, and that's when you saw me collecting the tickets. And we were going to have a discussion with the employers about it, but of course they'll resist that. You know, I guess if we became their police force and fought our way through the gate through the protesters, then we deserve pay. You know, I just, you know, it makes me angry to that our members get put in this position. You know, all of our members aren't political. You know, you got people, all different races, all different backgrounds, that members of our local. Some of them don't care about politics. Some of them don't even want to talk about politics. But those members were affected today, okay? And you have corporate bosses that don't understand that dynamic, you know.
Yeah. Can I just ask you to say your name and your title?
Trent Willis, I'm the president of the ILWU Local 10.
Durban, South Africa, there was an action there protesting it. The longshoremen in South Africa have faced apartheid. What's the connection? They're trying to privatize the port in Durban. Is there a connection between what's happening here and in South Africa?
There's a connection with that everywhere. Okay? Yeah, the truck, I was trying to wait for the truck to go by. But the tactic of racism and using that kind of pressure on workers is everywhere, okay? The labor movement is always affected by the tactics of the bosses, okay? So, you know, instead of solving some of the problems that we have globally around the world with the corporate bosses pretty much pitting workers against each other, race against each other, and all of these tactics of division that are used so that we never get to the root of problems.
What is the root?
Racism and greed. That's what the root of the problems are. Okay, you got people here who want to hog up everything, all of the resources on earth. You know, people like me and my brothers and sisters, we have to fight. We have to fight for decent wages, working conditions on a daily basis. You know, and efforts to stop that from happening, they happen all the time. In order to stop working people from uniting all around the world, you have to use divisive tactics, racism. You know, you have to have people getting paid more than others, jealousy. You know, you gotta have all of these dividing tactics to keep people from uniting and realizing that when we all stand together as a unit around the world, then that's when change will happen. And it has to be the working people that do it. You know, because working people have power, and there are forces that don't want us to know we have that power. You know, and all of these things like this today, all of this happens because of people ignoring the plight of working people, whether it be the Palestinians, whether it be the African Americans here in the United States, you know, whether it be the South Africans during apartheid. You know, if you look at the one common denominator here is that we're all working people, and working people should back each other up, okay, and they should support each other, okay. The corporate America doesn't want that to happen, okay. So even in a situation like this, where, you know, there's no clear, there's nothing happening here that the employers or corporate America or ZIM lines or anybody can blame on the longshore workers. However, they're doing it anyway. Okay, because what they're telling us is that, oh, well, we don't want you to just stand there. We want you to challenge these protesters. That's what they want our members to do, which I think is asinine and racist. How are you going to ask workers to challenge other workers? You know, what do they want us to have a brawl out here with protesters? That's ridiculous. You know, so they threaten and try to punish us for something we have no control over. Even if we wanted to have control over it, we could not. We don't have any control over this. Yeah. Okay, if the longshore workers. Oh my God! Okay, cut the. What the fuck?
Has there been a way that like ZIM has like communicated that to you all?
Well, we've gotten word that ZIM is planning to pull out of the port here, and you know, we can't confirm that or anything. Yeah. But that's the word we've gotten, and you know, we don't have any control over that either. Yeah. We don't have any control over ZIM's decisions. Usually, the victims don't have control over anything. Yeah. And that's part of the problem in this country and around the world. We don't have much control over nothing. So
that like the pressure like from ZIM, you said they expect this, they expect that. I mean, how is that manifested? Is that manifested like in the threat to pull out, or like? Well, I'm a little confused. That's all.
I'm confused too. Yeah. You know, that's why I sound like this, because I don't even understand why a threat is even hurled towards the ILWU.
I guess how is the threat? That's what I'm wondering. Was there like an email
yeah, I got some text messages and some calls from people this morning that are relaying messages from ZIM lines saying that what they're going to do and all of this. Why are you telling the ILWU what you're going to do?
Yeah, ZIM has signed a 10-year contract with Amazon, right? And Amazon itself is union busting here and around the world. Right. What do you think that means, the relationship of ZIM with Amazon? They know who Amazon is, and Amazon knows who they are?
Well, Amazon is a company that ships out products, and ZIM is
from China. Right. And this is going to go from China all over the world.
And we are fully aware of you know, the situation in Alabama regarding Amazon. We look at the internet. We read newspapers, and just like everybody else in the world. So we're fully aware of some of the issues surrounding Amazon and ZIM lines. Doesn't have anything to do with this today. You know, today there's some protesters in front of the fence, okay? And for me to get a message that, okay, we're gonna pull out of here, is just, why are you sending me the message? You understand? It's like, so what you're telling me is that because we won't challenge those protesters down there, okay, which is unsafe for us to do. You don't challenge protesters, okay, because that can end up bad. Okay? Yeah. So they're basically telling us, if we don't challenge those protesters, we're pulling out of here. That's what they're telling us. You know, and we take offense to that. That's very offensive. You know, it's like telling the victims of racial hate that if they don't challenge the haters, yeah, you know, like, don't call the police or, you know, do things the right way. You know, you got to challenge them yourself, and you got to fight your own.
Does that affect, like, I guess, like, I get why you're being like, why are you telling us this? Because right, you don't have any control over it. I guess I don't understand why it's, and maybe you don't think it is, or maybe they think it's bad, but you don't think it's bad. Like, why is it bad if they do pull out for longshoremen, or is it? I'm confused.
Well,
about that.
the reason it's, well, I wouldn't use the word bad.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
But how it affects us.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you have cargo, of course, that comes here. Yeah. We work cargo. Yeah. So the more cargo that comes here, the better it is for our workforce, right?
You get more hours, you can work.
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. Okay, but when you get to a situation like this, where, you know, it's not like we're in there refusing to work the cargo or something, you know, but we're getting treated like we are, which to me is very offensive, because it's telling me that somebody thinks that we're supposed to go and challenge those protesters, which is not what labor does. You know, that we're a labor organization. We're not a security force.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not soldiers. You know, we're not armed troops. We're not any of that. You know, so we don't do the dirty work for the police and stuff like that.
Well, the longshoremen were killed in '34.
Yeah, longshore workers were killed in 1934, and we have never forgotten that. We celebrate it every year on Bloody Thursday, and there have been people killed since then. Okay, you know, the struggle for working people is ongoing. Okay, there needs to be some recognition of that the struggle is ongoing, it continues, and the fact that the struggle is continuing is sad. Okay, there needs to be a reckoning, not only in the United States, but around the world. Okay, we need to tackle issues like racism and the wealth gap, because those are the problems that are fueling these protests. Okay, racism in the Middle East. Okay, why are we even calling it the Middle East? What is the Middle East? Tell me what the Middle East are. Are we talking about Northern Africa here? Or are we talking about the Middle East? How did that even get renamed the Middle East? See, that's all BS. Okay, when society starts talking about issues the way they are and start telling the truth about things the way they are, you know, like you have 1% of the population of this world that is hogging up all of the wealth, while you got people sleeping under bridges, you got people sleeping in cars and on the street. This is why people are protesting. You know, you had the Occupy movement come down here, okay? And the Occupy movement organizers, they marched through the streets of downtown, they marched through the port, okay? What is the reason why they were marching? Okay, you have corporate America, they go, oh, these people are stopping our cargo, they're stopping our money. Yeah, but what is the reason?
Yeah.
And the privatization of the port here in Oakland by John Fisher.
You got the Fisher family and all of these things that happen negative to the public and workers that people respond to. There's too much focus put on the response. What about the reason the people are protesting? People are not protesting all over the world because things are peachy keen and fine. Okay? People are not marching up and down the street, hooping and hollering. People, and even people storming the Capitol. They're not doing that because everything's fine. Okay? They're doing that because there's some kind of problem, whether it's a problem with the people or with what's happening to the people. Okay? Now, when you see stuff like a gang, a mob is able to basically storm the Capitol building and nothing happens, okay? And then you got protesters out here that are protesting, and you have cops everywhere. You want the longshoremen to jump on them and all of that. I mean, that doesn't add up. It's completely asinine. Okay, it's a way to you know, downplay the scenario or downplay what's actually happening. That way you never get to the point where you're addressing the real issues. Okay, because you take certain situations and you lie about them. The insurrection in Washington D.C., those people were tourists, right? That's what one Congress or senator said. They look like tourists. Why can't these protesters look like tourists? Okay, are these tourists? No. You know what they call them? They call them rebel rousers and you know, they call them all of the bad names, you know, because they're standing up for the Palestinian people. And then they call the longshoremen. They say we're helping them and we're horrible too, and we should have the Taft-Hartley Act invoked on us. Okay, what should happen to those people that stormed the Capitol, busting windows and threatening to kill, trying to kill congressmen and senators? What do they call them? You know, so these are all things that working people and you know, people in the public are concerned about and are thinking about when you come out here and you have a company like ZIM Lines tell us we're going to pull out of here because people are protesting something that's going on in the world. You know, that's to me, that is asinine to do that.
There's like a threat couched in that, right?
Yeah, there's always a threat couched in there for innocent people.
Yeah.
Okay, but nobody's threatening the insurrectionists that stormed the Capitol.
Can I ask you to shift gears, if that's okay? Can I ask you about 2014 and how that was compared to this?
Looks pretty similar. Looks pretty similar to 2014.
Like, how did you feel about 2014, and how did that, like, when all the dust settled and everything, how did that sit with you?
Well, like I told the other news outlet earlier, we've been through this, I mean, over 100 times since I've been a longshoreman. I've been a longshoreman 25 years.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, I've been a member of the ILWU 25 years, and I've seen this 100 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is nothing new. It happens, and for anytime you have corporate America losing any money or a couple of pennies, they start attacking people.
Yeah.
And they usually start attacking the poor people. Okay, even this thing about we're going to force workers to go back to work by taking away the benefits.
Yeah.
Okay, this attitude like, oh, people aren't going to work because they're getting benefits. Okay, people aren't going to work because you're paying them low wages that they can't take care of their families.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why they're not going to work.
Yeah.
What part of that don't they get?
Yeah.
Okay, but they'll keep pushing this lie, which seems to be the thing to do now, push lies, and they'll keep saying that people aren't going to work because of the benefits they're getting from the government.
Yeah. Yeah, they gotta. It's just logic, right? If you're making more money.
So
the 1% don't want to pay
So
their share.
the Democrats and Republicans are in charge. I mean, they're continuing to support Israel, $1 billion more in military aid, and they say they can't pass anything in Congress.
Well, they seem to be passing things like the Asian hate bill. They passed that like that.
Yeah.
Okay. A Jewish guy got attacked in New York. They passed that bill like that. Okay. The only thing they seem to not be able to pass is issues that have to do with African Americans. That's what it looks like to me, you know, and. Not saying that those bills that I just mentioned shouldn't have been passed, but don't ignore African Americans, okay? Because you're sending us a message, okay? It's already in the Constitution that me, the president of the ILWU Local 10, as far as this government is concerned, I'm 3/5 of a man, okay? I don't have voting rights. My voting rights are under attack, okay? I don't deserve reparations from Jim Crow and the prison industrial complex and slavery. Okay, we don't deserve reparations for all of the inventions and things that were stolen from us, and all of the history, all of the wealth stolen from black people. We don't even have the opportunity to talk about something like the Tulsa massacre that happened 100 years ago that was covered up. Black Wall Street. Any time in history in this country when black people have developed their own economic base, it's been burned to the ground. Tulsa, Oklahoma was not the only black Wall Street. Okay, there were several black Wall Streets that were all burnt to the ground by white mobs. Okay, that is not talked about. Okay, that's just swept under the rug. How long does especially in this new age of the internet and all of the information sources that people have, how long do you think people are going to stay quiet about that? Okay, this new generation is not staying quiet about that. They are educating themselves, and they are voicing their opinions. They're letting themselves be heard, and I agree with them. You know, I've lived 54 years, and I've seen black people ignored since I can remember opening my eyes, which probably 50 years ago. So for 50 years, I've been watching black people get ignored. I've been watching working people get ignored. I've been watching tyranny Okay, and I've been watching slavery, indentured slavery, and that's what low wages are. That's indentured servitude. Okay, that shouldn't happen in the richest country in the world. Okay, so you got people spouting off about the land of the free and all these opportunities here. Well, history shows us that every opportunity for African Americans was burned to the ground. So, it's hypocritical. It's time that we as a people are not the only ones telling the truth. Because this demonstration out here, this is about the truth. This is about people trying to protest so that the truth comes out, right? People shouldn't have to protest for the truth to come out. The truth should be told from the get-go.
I'm Jack Heyman. I'm a retired longshoreman, a veteran of the class struggles on the waterfront.
And what is this ship here that's coming in?
Well, this ship is called the Volans. It's chartered by ZIM lines, and she's bringing in cargo from China.
And I understand China is bringing a lot of cargo to Israel, and China is supporting Israel.
Well, these ships are doing here now. There's a 10-year contract with Amazon to bring in goods that are made in China to the U.S. for Amazon for 10 years.
That's a big contract.
It is, and they're chartering ships. This is a ZIM chartered ship, the Volans, that's in here now. And the picketers are stopping longshoremen from working it. But we don't want to just stop the ZIM ships in the Port of Oakland. This needs to spread up and down the West Coast, from Los Angeles and Long Beach, the two largest ports in this country, up to Seattle and Tacoma as well. And if we can do that successfully, then we need to appeal to dock workers around the world. In Italy, they're already taking action against ZIM ships. The Zionists have to know that when they commit these genocidal attacks against the Palestinian people, and so many children being killed, that there's a penalty to be paid. And we're going to stop these ships as much as we can around the world. This should be a message to dock workers around the world to join us, to send a message to the Zionist government of Israel that we will not be quiet. We will not be silenced when they attack the Palestinian people like this.
And what's the position of the ILWU and the ILA, two major unions representing dock workers on the West Coast and East Coast?
Well, the position of the ILA on the East Coast, they represent longshoremen on the Atlantic coast and also in the Caribbean and the Gulf. And so they've always supported Israel. They've always supported every U.S. imperialist war. We need to appeal to them to stand with us. This is no different than striking against the apartheid government of South Africa. We did several strikes against the apartheid government.
And 1984 was there?
In 1984 and after that as well. And also longshoremen on the East Coast did have strike actions against the apartheid government. We need to appeal to the longshoremen on the East Coast to join with us to send a message to the Israeli government that we will stop your ships if you continue to oppress the Palestinian people.
And Israel, wasn't that what it's based on, the oppression of the Palestinians? I mean, the Histadrut discriminates against Arab workers or Palestinians?
Well, the Histadrut, first of all, is not a trade union. It's a state organization. The Histadrut discriminates against Palestinians. They've shown no sympathy towards the struggle of Palestinian workers. They're only interested in the Hebrew-speaking workers. And the importance here is that it shouldn't just be a nationalist struggle of the Hebrew-speaking workers against Palestinians. We need to unite the working class in the Middle East, especially in Palestine and Israel, a struggle against their respective governments to establish actually a workers' government in the Middle East. In Palestine and Israel should be one country, a democratic workers' republic.
So you don't agree with this two-state solution?
No, it's not working because since the Nakba in 1948, Israelis have been increasingly encroaching on Arab lands, stealing the lands, and it's led to continuous wars since 1948.
And the Democrats and Republicans seem to think that Israel should be supported. There's an $875 million that, including Bernie Sanders, are supporting. Why is the Democrats and Republicans supporting Israel?
Well, both parties have a same foreign policy. There's really not a difference in the Democrats and Republicans when you come to foreign policies. Whether it's the Vietnam War, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, or Israel and Palestine, the Democrats and Republicans have the same party. That's why I've always fought for, in the Longshore Union, that we break with the Democrats and form a workers' party in this country that's going to oppose imperialism abroad and win the war at home against the employers.
And is there any hope of that?
I didn't hear.
Is there any hope of that?
Well, people are going to be disenchanted with the Biden administration, in my opinion. The Democrats really have offered nothing for the working class. We had a big strike in the Northwest just a few years ago. And what did the Obama-Biden administration do? They sent in armed Coast Guard cutters to protect the scab ship. I mean, the Democrats call for support for them. At the same time, they're breaking strikes against trade unions. So we need to form our own party in this country, a workers' party that's going to fight for workers' interests.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Yoshi. I'm Local 10. I've been a longshoreman for 11 years.
People are protesting in solidarity with the Palestinians. What do you think about that?
Well, we don't cross picket lines. I can't speak for my union, but I don't support any type of war. If they're here, we can't cross it. That's all I can say. And so I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Everyone else is doing what they're supposed to do. And
you don't believe in crossing picket lines?
We do not. We do not cross them. We are union. We're a union, and we do not cross picket lines. So this is the way it is. I can't speak on anything else. But yeah, my belief, I don't believe in funding a war. I don't believe in helping anyone hurt other people. I don't believe in any of that, but that's my personal opinion. I can't speak for my union.
Anthony Levieges.
So Anthony, you're a longshoreman. What's going on here today?
It's a picket of the ZIM ship. And longshoremen are standing by. They're not going to cross the line.
Yeah. You've seen this before. What's your feeling about ZIM?
Have I seen the picket before? In 2014, we had the same issue of blocking a ship from Israel or a ZIM ship because of the occupation and the escalated violence over there.
And what is this? Why is Israel doing that? Why is the United States supporting it?
I don't know. I can't even answer. I don't know. I mean, it would be almost similar to like them supporting a terrorist organization. I personally been to Gaza, not Gaza, but to Palestine. I think maybe three years ago, and I seen with my own eyes of the stealing of the land, the treatment of the Palestinian people.
How did you see that? What did you see?
I mean, all the checkpoints, how they live in different places, how you can have a Palestinian community and a Jewish person to move in, then they got to get escorted. It was sad, but it gives me a modern day look at how this land in the U.S. was stolen by the British and the Americans. It's just, you change the name of it. Back then it was like, it was savages. Now they're terrorists. You got to create these demonized people as you take land. So that would be my personal opinion, my experience of what I seen when I went over there.
And some people say that the ILWU, the union, should not be involved. You have a different point of view about labor?
I think not just the union, like working class people should be involved. I mean, the same people who are doing this in Israel or automating the ports or whatever, or these wealthy group of people are doing things for profit. It affects all of us. So I think all working class people should be involved in wanting something different for the next generations.
And Israel was active in supporting apartheid South Africa. There's a struggle now in South Africa for survival. They're trying to privatize the ports in Durban and other ports. I mean, you think these struggles are similar all over the world?
Yes, yes. It's all part of just one system, where a group of people stay on top and the rest of us be on the bottom. That's what it's all boiled about. And then we're taught to fight under different flags. You know, we make fun or demonize the young men in the ghettos for having gangs and fighting over colors, but it's done on the highest level. It's the same thing. You know, instead of fighting over rims or whatever, these people are fighting over oils, control of satellite, and whatever else. It's the same difference.
And these companies who run the shipping company, like ZIM now, has signed a contract with Amazon for 10 years.
I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about that.
They've got an exclusive contract with Amazon to bring their products to this port and ports all over the world. And Amazon, of course, treats its workers like slaves.
I guess the main point, I mean, we just want to see the stop of killing of human beings for nothing. Period. For nothing. You know, it's plenty of resources on this planet for all of us to be able to share it, right? But if one group of people just want to have it all and leave the rest of us out of it, then that creates war and tension. And then the working people at the bottom, they just follow suit and follow under flags. You know, I'm American, North Korea's my enemy, you know, like, but these rich people, they are together as one. So we just got to come together as working class people.
Larry Wright, retired longshoreman, Local 10 and Local 91.
And Larry, you've been involved for many years, including the fight against the apartheid regime. Why don't you talk about some of that history and its connection today?
Well, I see the struggle today in Palestine is very similar. I was involved in the civil rights movement in this country. I went to Mississippi in 1964, and I've seen the racism in South Africa is very similar to the racism and Jim Crow that existed in this country. So I got involved, worked with an organization called Liberation Support Movement, and we supported liberation struggles in Mozambique, Angola, South Africa, Zimbabwe. I went to Africa for 3 months in support of the popular movement for the liberation of Angola, and so I had a lot of experience in working with African people in revolution. And so we formed a committee in Local 10 called the Southern African Liberation Support Committee, and started doing support for the people, the workers, especially in South Africa. We raised material support, but most importantly, we politicized people. We educated people about what was happening there, so that when a vote came up in Local 10 to not discharge a ship that had South African cargo, it passed, I think, unanimously, and we were able to stop a ship for 11 days, and it galvanized a big coalition of groups, including the church groups, the labor community, the gay community, just all kinds of people who were understanding students of what was happening there, and it was very effective. It was thousands of people that went on and played a role in apartheid eventually being abolished in South Africa in 1994. So now I see this struggle is very similar in South Africa. They pushed people off the land. Blacks were forced into some of the worst land where they couldn't really even farm and support themselves, so that people were forced to go into what was called South Africa. and work.
The Bantustans.
And what's happening in Palestine is very similar. People are having their land stolen, their houses stolen. There's a lot of violence against Palestinians. It's been particularly bad here just recently, and I see it as a form of apartheid and a form of genocide, the way that Palestinians are being killed in this struggle. And I don't think that the Israeli government has any thoughts of a peace settlement. I think that they're just slowly pushing the Palestinians away, and it's just that kind of terrible situation that existed in South Africa, and it's happening in Palestine now.
And the longshoremen on San Francisco, Local 10, have played a pretty historic role of internationalism. You think that's going to continue, and also should it spread? I mean, around the world, to South Africa, all Europe. I mean, it seems like it would have an economic effect on Israel if similar actions took place internationally.
Yeah, I've been retired for 12 years, so I haven't been, active in Local 10. And a lot of the young people don't have the same history as the old-timers that went through the strikes in 34 and 48 and 71 and we had committees in the union that did political education. So I don't know how much of that exists now. Unfortunately, I don't think the membership of Local 10 is as politicized as it once was, understanding these struggles. But the union still supports other unions, the internationalism of the positions it takes, and the refusal of longshoremen to work in a situation like this are very important.